Good morning, everybody. Today is January 13th, 2026. It is 8:45 a.m. in the morning, and this is day 50501. Oh, and it's Tuesday. Almost forgot. And then also year 2026. Not sure if I said that or not. My mind is completely somewhere else, so I'm going to try to focus in on this walk. I have an appointment today. I have some phone calls to make, so let me take my mind off of that for a second so we can make it through our walk and talk for today. Okay, we're at 15. Let me move this over here. Maybe I can leave it right there. And we are going to attempt to get this up to 2.5. And I forgot to look at the bottom of my shoes like I said I was going to yesterday, so I'm really hoping that they are still intact because it might be time to order a new pair, and I'm hoping that I can get the same pair. I like how the shoes are two different colors. And let me tell you, it is chilly out here. My ears, I won't say they're freezing, but they are cold. And I was thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna do walk 501 today. Honestly, now that I think about it, I do have the time, but it would kind of cut close to my appointment somewhat, or to when I should start getting ready. So I am debating, now that I think about it. I thought, no, I have the time, but I'll see. I'll see at the end of this walk. Okay, so we're at 2.0. And I actually ran out of thin walking pants to wear without having to repeat. And I have a pair that I can't find. I don't know what happened. I think it's in the hamper, which is not very common for me to do that, because the minute I stop walking, I wash the whole outfit. So I don't know where these pants are, but I guess I'll find them. I hope I find them because they're one of my favorite pair. Okay, so we're up to 2.5. Today's topic is going to be my weird dream that I had this morning. And I think there was more to it, but this is the only part that I remember. So I might just make this whole walk and talk about dreams that I can remember that I've had within the past 2 weeks. Okay, so I don't know what the building was or if I was ever inside this building, but there are a couple things that I'm finding strange about these dreams of living in a city that is completely made out of what looks like cement, except for the roads. The roads are still blacktop. And so what's interesting is they don't keep any part of the stairs, the sidewalk. Well, the sidewalk, yes, I take that back. But the buildings are usually painted. But from what it looks like, it's cement. I don't think it's a really smoothed out stucco. It just has that cement look. And I'm noticing a smooth texture to it. So with this city, instead of the buildings being painted black or having some type of wall that looks like black gloss, I don't want to say something that will remind you of black tile because it is cement, but I'm not quite sure. Well, that's one thing I can think of is that they're glossing the surface. But this one, everything except for the streets, sidewalks, buildings, you can still kind of see the gray. There was a slight hint, a little bit of blue, just a little, but it was more of a tan. Almost like the building was made out of some type of grayish blue cement, but stained with a tan color. If that makes sense. It didn't look painted. So I thought, this is gonna sound awkward, but picture coffee with milk in it or cream in it, something to make it light. And then you accidentally knocking it over on a piece of paper. But not newspaper, more like printed paper, not even paper with lines. The color that the puddle of coffee is, it's kind of like that, but just lighter. I don't know if that makes any sense. If not, we'll just go with tan. And the reason why I got to thinking, maybe it's not painted, maybe it's stained, because I remember we made a platform for our TV stand out of wood. We stained it dark, and it reminded me kind of somewhat of that if the stain had been lighter, we still might have been able to see a little bit of the color of the wood. Kind of like when you buy plywood, I guess. And then the blacktop of the street was smooth. There were no potholes. There was no loose gravel. And it was just smooth. And I was thinking, it was kind of dark, so it hadn't faded. It's kind of like when they first pave it and they finish all the layers. When it's wet, how dark it is, but it was like that, but it was dry. There also was no trash anywhere, no graffiti. There was like nothing out of place, but it was natural looking. It just looked, and it was clean. The grass was evenly cut. It was slightly brighter than the normal grass. It had like a little hint of yellow in the grass, just a little bit. But it was evenly cut as far as I could see. So there was a building. I don't know if I mentioned that, or I forgot to mention it. And I don't know, like I said, by the time my dream started, if I came out of that building. I just remember walking toward a school bus. And the building, well, I'm facing, I guess if I try and picture it facing this way, the way I'm facing you guys, I would have the bus over here. So the building would be over there, And there's this big yard, field, I don't know what you want to call it, like I said, evenly cut grass and trees, but they were off in the distance. The leaves were green, the same color as the grass, and the trees didn't look like they were groomed so far as being shaped in a certain way. So like I said, it all just looked natural. But interestingly so, there were no leaves on the ground anywhere. Not on the grass, not on the sidewalk, not on what I soon came to realize when I woke up was not a street. And I'll tell you why I say that in a second. Even though there was blacktop. I mean, they do parking lots the same way, right? But it wasn't a parking lot either. So, I don't know what you would call it. But I assumed, because I felt like I was me, but just there, that I was an adult. I was either a teacher or a substitute teacher, maybe a regular one, and I was just on my way to school on the bus with the kids. And I remember there was a second bus driver, but I don't remember there being a second bus. So I don't know if they had just did a shift change or what the case may have been. For some reason, I'm kind of remembering a bus driving off. But I could be wrong. If it did, it drove past the bus we were going to get on. But all I remember is still seeing the other bus driver. Both of them had on the, I don't want to say typical outfit, but you know, the light blue shirts. They were short sleeve, and they had dark blue shorts on. And I can't remember if they had like a name tag or anything like that. So the bus driver was sitting by the door. I got on the bus. It was kind of square, which was kind of odd. It was like, I want to call it, for me, for my childhood, it being like a old school bus that had even more of a squared nose. It wasn't that long, but it was noticeable. And so I walked up. Everything else was the same, like the stairs, they were black. There was a bus driver's seat. Then I would turn to the left. So picture the bus being like this. And where I'm at right now, I'm walking up onto the bus. So I turn to the left. And the first thing I noticed, besides the fact that the kids are younger than I thought they would be, they were little, like preschoolers or kindergartners. And I don't know why I expected to see older children, but I did. Like maybe at least fourth grade or something, but no. And all the seats were taken. The seats didn't have that black, I don't know if that's fake leather or real leather, but seats on them where they round at the top. They were actually like seats on a city bus. And they had, well, first let me start by saying that they were like a cream color. They looked like a thick plastic. The seats had really no cushion. Even though the bus was super clean, very nice, very well designed inside. But it was like the material was just put on top. And it was done the way you would do any upholstery. You could just tell there was no cushion, is what I mean. So the material that was in the middle of the seats, there was 2 seats on this side, 2 seats on this side, but on the left side, the seats were further away. It was awkward. It wasn't even like on most buses. Is what I happened to notice. And the children seemed to get younger as I got toward the back of the bus. But the material in the middle of the seats and on the aisle was blue. And I think I've seen this pattern before. Or maybe some city buses in Long Beach, or I don't know, maybe a Greyhound bus. But unlike a Greyhound bus, like I said, it was plastic covered with the material, and it had like light yellow triangles kind of turned sideways. They were small, maybe some spots on them, and light red designs, maybe some circles, and or squares or something. It was an odd pattern. You wouldn't just look at it and say, oh, there's some geometrical shapes right there on the pattern. I don't know how to explain it, but if you've ever seen those city buses that have that pattern, you know what I'm talking about. Except for sometimes there's like a lighter color that looks like it was put on with a sponge somewhat. But this just had shapes. And I found it odd that that same material was in the aisle. And also how wide the aisle was. So, besides thinking, the children are awfully small. Very young. I was also thinking, there's no seats available, so why did the bus driver let me on the bus? And I thought, no, she would have let you on if there wasn't any open seats. And there's a possibility, I was thinking this after I woke up, that maybe this was the normal set of people that would ride. So the normal bus driver, normally I would be on there, and so would these students. It didn't really occur to me that we might not have been going to a school. They may have been going on a field trip. Never crossed my mind. To me, my thought was, while I don't know how to explain this time it didn't feel like I was watching my dream like TV. It felt like I was in it. And I was just there. And so my thought was we were on the way to school. And there's a possibility maybe I was her teacher, I don't know. So anyway, I'm still walking. Like I said, it's a pretty good sized bus. And so I get to the back. By this time I think we're moving. And I looked at the little boy sitting on the right. I remember he had brown hair. He had a light yellow shirt. And it had a collar. And so I won't say they were in uniforms, but some of them did look like they had some type of school uniform on. It was kind of a mixture of both. So I remember saying to this little boy, oh, I guess there is a seat open, but it's back there. And he said, yeah. So the next thing I noticed, I'm approaching stairs. And I'm thinking, there's got to be about 8 stairs going down to these seats. But the awkward thing was, they didn't look very much lower than the seats that were on the side of the aisle. So I want to say those 4 seats, which oddly also were facing the back of the bus, to where the kids sitting back there were looking out the back window. It was kind of like on a platform, kind of. And so there was 2 children here. There's only 4 seats. There's an open seat. All the seats were individual, but they were connected. And I thought, That's a very small space. And then there was another seat over here. So the fourth one had a student in as well. And so we're going down. This is why I said I wouldn't call this a street. We're going down it, and we get to some stairs. And while I'm noticing, like I said, the sidewalk, the building, and maybe we'll call it a walkway if that wasn't a street, the sidewalk where there was a street, and you could tell it was a street. All of it, and there was a black rail that went down. All of it was that slightly bluish gray, but with a tan stain on it, but it looked even. It didn't look blotchy. That's the other thing that was kind of awkward, was that you could see all three colors. But the more present color was the tan. That's when it showed up the most. And so I held onto the back of the seat, or the seat, because I didn't make it around the other side to sit down. And I remember saying, well, this is about to get uncomfortable, or feel uncomfortable, something like that. And the three children in the back turned around, they said, yeah, it is. And they didn't look nervous or scared. It was more like they looked a little annoyed. And I think they were thinking the same thing I was thinking, was, why do we have to go down the stairs? And like I said, it seemed like something that would happen every day. And I thought, okay, the bus is not gonna slip down into the street, but it's gonna be bumpy going down. And I remember thinking, hold on, because I'm kind of tilted back, so we're starting down. And it started to do a little bit of bumpy things. She had amazing control over this bus. Her driving skills were on point, because we weren't bouncing, but we could tell we were going down each stair. And I thought, look up. That way, I won't be feeling like I'm looking straight down and watching us just go towards the street. And she wasn't going very fast either. But we got down to the bottom. We went off the sidewalk. The back tires made it onto the street. She started to turn left, and then I woke up. That's when I realized, well, actually, when I started brushing my teeth before I came out here, that number one, that was not a street we were on originally. Number two, she was driving backwards, possibly, but why was there no beeping? Usually, some buses will beep, I think, if they back up, but I don't remember hearing a noise at all. And I don't think that her steering wheel and her chair could rotate. It felt like she was driving forward, but I realized by the time I finished brushing my teeth, that's probably because I was walking toward the back of the bus. So the next thing I'm trying to remember is, what did I see with the view this way? Like I said, so if we rewind back up to the bus being back up where it was, I know what was over here and behind me, but looking out, I'm picturing, it was like a wall. It was like maybe 3 feet tall, maybe 4. And then it had, I think, metal poles that went up, they were spaced apart on top of the wall. And then a metal bar that was also a cylinder shape, and it went across. And you could see out. Now, I don't think we were up that high because I'm afraid of heights. I would remember being up so high that it would be hard for me to just look out. I remember if I saw buildings, maybe some houses, some stores. That's the other odd thing about it is that I was so focused getting on this bus that I can't tell you exactly what I saw. Right now it feels like a blur, but it wasn't there. And so I'm trying to think, when was the last time I was dreaming and I felt that I was there. Not that I was watching myself in the dream, like a TV, like I said. I guess you would call it, I think, first person. And I'm not saying I don't have those dreams, but it was first person to the point to where I don't think I could see any part of me at all. I just knew I was there. I just felt I was there. Just like I'm walking on this treadmill. And I think for some reason, the only thing I'm remembering, and it might just be something I remember from another dream, but I want to say I was carrying not a black backpack, but something like a briefcase. Something with a leather shoulder strap that was black. Also, I don't know why I remember seeing that. And a long sleeve burgundy shirt or something. I don't know. The windows were so clean, I can tell you, I don't remember seeing a reflection of myself. But maybe I'm just starting to remember more of the dream, I don't know. But yeah, that was very awkward that the only way down from there was the stairs. And I remember thinking, after I woke up, that's not safe. But like I said, she did it so well, it was almost as if it was an everyday thing for her. And I don't know, never occurred to me if we were going backwards, that she was driving in reverse. Maybe, I didn't think about that. Maybe she did that because she's tried driving straight forward and maybe it scared her. And I don't know, maybe there being kind of a nose on the bus, maybe that wasn't a good thing, I don't know. But very weird. But like I said, I've been thinking, when I dream of a city, why is it half the time it's some type of cement city? And it's always clean, always. There's never no trash, no graffiti. You might see a couple of trash cans, which this time I didn't see, where you could throw your trash away. But I'm beginning to wonder. Same thing I said last time when I told you guys about this other dream where I had roommates. And we worked together in some way, even though we had different fields of study. And so even there, I think the cement was a regular color, but it was smooth. There was no indentations in the cement. And when I say the entire city was like that, the entire city was like that, at least where we were. So I'm beginning to wonder, even though in the other dream, the buildings, some of them were painted black, not all of them, if it's the same city and if different parts of it are different colors of either stained or painted cement. I have yet to figure that out. So what has not happened is I have not seen the same people in these, let's see, I think I counted with this morning stream, these 3 different dreams. So I am curious. As a matter of fact, there was a 4th one, and I think I was telling you guys about it the other day. I was in, I want to say, an airport, and even that city, that one had the regular colored cement, and it had some of the black buildings, yeah. And I was meeting my siblings. That city in the city where I had roommates, and our door led out to like a platform and stairs, like 4 stairs. Then you walk down, you're on the sidewalk. That might have been the same city. So if I have another dream and it connects, and I'm sure it connects to this other dream, then I'll tell you guys about it. We're 30 minutes, actually 31 minutes and 3 seconds. And I'm debating on, because I think I told you guys about it already, so I'm trying not to do too much of like a repeat about this stream. I just don't remember what video I told you guys about this stream. I want to say it would have been a nail video, but in my nail videos, I'm usually describing what I'm doing and why. So maybe it was a walk and talk. Okay, so another thing I'll say, I was talking to my husband about this dream I think I had yesterday morning, where he looked the same, he was just taller. He was closer to like 6 feet. And we lived in this house. I don't remember too much about it, about the furniture or anything. It didn't look like stuff we would have bought though. This other dream was too scary for me to tell you guys. I remember almost all the details of that dream. You're probably like, tell. It was creepy. So let me tell you the dream about, and see, I wish I stayed asleep longer, especially if I already told you guys about this dream. Okay, so I was at a house. I'm assuming I lived there. And so I don't know what I was doing before. I don't think I was there when I first started dreaming. I think maybe by the time I realized I was dreaming, I was inside. And so one of the first things I noticed is the person I assume I lived with, she turns and looks at me, and I'm not going to say her name because it is one of my actual siblings, but I looked and I think I said out loud what I call her for short. We all shorten each other's names. And so she was like, yeah. And I was shocked. I told her about it. She was like 6'1". It was crazy. And I don't know, her overall size was just shocking, especially since we're closer to height. Here, I guess, I don't know how to say that. But I just kept looking at her. Like, her face, it was undeniably her. And so we're talking, and this is why I wish I had stayed asleep longer, because I don't know if this was a mistake or not, if I should or should not have done this, but I told her, I said, we're sisters. And she said, well, yeah, we're really close. She goes on to tell me, you know, that we met in college and we've been friends since then. And I told her, I said, no. We're sisters. And I don't know, maybe I did this to see what would happen. Some people get warned by the people in the dream, like, hey, don't do that, you're breaking rules, right? But this didn't happen. And so I said, I don't know. Another parallel universe, another dimension of the world, I have no clue. But we have the same mom. And we have siblings. And so she kind of looked at me and she gave me this slight look of like, yeah, right. Okay. You know, I just assumed my name was the same there as it is here. And so when she gave me the slight, kind of like that look right there, I was like, no. And that's when I started telling her that we had the same mom and everything else. And so I didn't get a chance to ask her anything. I didn't get a chance to ask her who were her siblings in that dream, who were mine, if we had any, and in names. Of course, I can name us all, including her. So I really wish, like I said, I stayed sleep long enough to talk to her to see who we knew and who we didn't. And if she was going to tell me, like, okay, you know what, it's not that we're not supposed to do this, but I think for people it's just awkward, but you just like blurted it out, like came out with it. So I don't know what she would have said. But in that dream, unlike other dreams, we weren't sisters. Another dream I had was, so I don't know if I want to mention this dream because one of the siblings is not with us anymore, and he stayed with me and she stayed with me. Our other sibling, I think, lived in the same city, and my brother had like this odd job where, well, I guess there it wasn't odd to be paid in different types of currency, and then you could leave it at that currency or convert it to like US dollars or whatever. And he shocked me, like he was able to do the math and say, okay, this is worth this is worth that. And I think I was thinking, didn't I just give you some money before I left and went to work? And also, this place was clean. So I kind of went to sister mode, like, clean up, you guys, like, what are you doing? And he looked at me, he was like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, he was shocked that I did not know. Apparently, the me there possibly would have been able to do all these conversions. It would have recognized each different types of the money. And he found it, I think he found it odd that I didn't. So like I said, same sister, different dream, was upset. I don't know if I promised to do something with him if I just worked a lot. But he was like, she'll get over it. She doesn't stay mad at you for long. I said, okay. And I told her, so whatever I did, I'm sorry. And so I don't think I even asked about the other sister. I just knew that she lived in the same city, maybe close by. I don't know if it was the same neighborhood, but not too far away. And I was looking at how crowded the living room was, like how much furniture there was in there. There was a bookshelf with some books on it, and it was taller than me. And I think I might have had a fake or a real plant in there, which I usually don't do. Fake plants get dusty. Real plants, I don't want to chance my allergies. So in real life, I don't like having plants in the house of any sort. No flowers or anything like that. If you see them, usually they'll be fake. Unless maybe it's flowers that my husband gave me for like my birthday or Valentine's Day. And I think I just don't want the maintenance either of real ones, a plant flower of any sort. But in the stream, I remember there being one, not very big. But it's really interesting for me when I have dreams and I have the same siblings, or some will be the same and some will be different, but I still know all their names. And I know them there, but I've been trying to notice some of the people, have I seen them in passing somewhere here, and if I just don't remember, and then they show up in a dream, and there I know them. Like, have I ever, at any point in the airport, at the store, at a park, anywhere, and I thought, you're gonna have to go back to your memory of mid-20s, early 20s, maybe even late teens, to see if I've ever even just walked past these people. Sometimes what's noticeable is maybe what they're wearing, a color of their shirt or something. I have yet to say, oh my gosh, I saw that person in Walmart the other day. Okay, that's why they're in my dream. So yeah, I'm still looking at different things about my dreams, but overall, it's just interesting. Really quick, so the other dream I told you guys about, where I said my husband was just taller. In my dreams, I feel everything. So if I fall, I can feel when I'm falling. I haven't really had any dreams where I can fly, like me myself, like a Peter Pan type thing, right? If I'm in a car and I'm driving, the only thing I can feel is the fact that I'm sitting in it. Not necessarily that it's moving, which is awkward. Other than that, I remember, okay, so I won't say what it was, but in that dream I had said that I was just talking about right now. My husband threw something at me and landed on me, and I'm telling you guys, when I woke up, I thought, oh my gosh, is there something actually on me? And I mean, because I could feel it to the point to where I think I turned on my lamp. I have a lamp where you can tap it and it goes to different brightnesses. And I was looking at the bed. It was super early in the morning, so I don't think I was gonna get up. But I said, oh no, I have a light switch on my side of the bed that turns on like the top lights. I think I switched that on, looked, and didn't see anything. So I also find it interesting or the fact that I can feel everything. Now I haven't really paid attention to if I can taste the food, like what I'm eating. I'll let you guys know if I have one of those dreams. So we are 3 minutes over. We're at 43 minutes, 8 seconds, 1.3 for distance, 186 calories. I moved that to push that button. Okay, so in my next video, like I said yesterday, I will tell you guys if I use the 3 minutes for this second walk. I am going to do a time check and see if I have enough time to even do the second walk. If not, I'm going to have to cross it off. And then if I'm going to use the 3 minutes for that walk or the next video. But you guys, I get running. If you have any dreams you'd like to share, let me know in the comment box below. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.